Am I in the frame?
Yeah,
Have I got
you
enough
kind
light?
of. Yeah, I've got proper lights today. Look, I've got proper
Oh,
studio
yeah, you
light.
got good light, haven't you? Hang on, let me turn the sound up on this thing.
I've also ditched the massive headphones, which made me look like something out of Band-Aid.
I quite liked your massive headphones.
I watched it back and thought, you idiot, what on earth are you doing?
And now you've got like a little iPhone ear thing in your ear, yeah?
Yeah, it's like a little ear bogey, they call them, don't they? The AirPod ear bogies.
I've been thinking about this, Mark, and I think it would be. I know I harp on about this a lot already, but I think it'd be interesting to talk about truth in communications.
Yep, that sounds good. I like
So what we've got going on at the moment is a journalist walks into a Saudi consulate and gets murdered. Right? I'm not going to go on about Trump because I know I talk about Trump every time, although it's really, really difficult not to because he just spouts lies left, right, and centre.
Yep.
I've got the biggest inauguration crowd, and I did this and I didn't do that, and that's just an enormous series of lies as well. And what is striking me more and more is that it's almost now not an unusual thing for people to lie in their communications or tell half truths or whatever the phrase is that we're currently using. I mean, do you find that at all? Are you seeing that in any of the advertising or marketing that you come across?
Not so much that, but I think you do see it. You see some very creative advertising, don't you? Which is tantamount to lying quite often. I think
you're being way too kind. I can tell by the look on your face.
But I think in terms of sort of big name examples of it, the likes of Facebook. There's been very recently Google, I think, wasn't it? Their new phone was launched this week, and it's off. But I don't know the full details, but it was off the back of quite a big privacy scandal. But again, that was essentially lying. Not telling the truth.
Yeah, but I mean, does it mean that we are now officially in a post-truth world? We're living in a place where the truth or bending the truth doesn't particularly matter, because I always grew up on this business learning that if you made a mistake, thinking here about crisis communications, if you got something wrong or something bad happened, you had to basically fess up and talk about that with your important stakeholders and your clients and get the news out there. But now it doesn't really seem to matter. It's like, if we get caught in a lie or if we do something halfway wrong, let's try and bury it and just move on.
Yeah, which is daft, because we live in a world now, don't we, where you can't bury stuff. Even if you tweet something, or you put a blog post up, or you have a podcast like this and say something, even if you delete it 2 weeks afterwards, someone has still got it. So we're in a world where you can't bury that information. So if you lie now, you could probably have got away with it 15, 20 years ago, when things would be archived and just disappear forever. But in this world, that doesn't happen. I'm the same as you. I don't understand why businesses, brands and other kind of public figures do this stuff, because if you lie at some stage, someone is going to find out that you've lied. It's going to come back and it's going to haunt you. It doesn't make sense. Why do you think that we've got to this stage? What is it that's causing businesses and people to do this?
Well, I think you've picked up on that really interesting point there, that you can't bury this stuff. It's out there permanently, or somebody will record it or keep it in whatever shape. But where we are and why I think we have gotten to this stage is that a lie, and wait for this, is no longer a lie. Now we have, okay, it is Trump again. It's Kellyanne Conway, isn't it? We've got alternative facts. So what I'm saying is that we would look at something and think objectively, okay, well, that's true or that's false. But that's no longer the case. Instead, what seems to be happening is businesses, politicians, other organizations are putting out information. And we might look at that in the cold light of day and say, well, that's clearly a lie. But no, they're saying, no, it's not a lie. It's an alternative viewpoint. This is our perspective on something. Your perspective is wrong. You say it's factual, non-factual. We disagree with you. So the world is becoming split into two camps. We're now in this really grey area where, even though you can objectively prove that something is flat out false, the other camp will say, no, we're fine with that. Now, the other point I think that comes into that is the pace of information that's coming out. You said yourself, it's there forever, but we've moved on already, haven't we, to the next week? So it's a whole different series of
Yeah.
stories and messages.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. Going back to Twitter, you move on in seconds. You know, you think how quickly you scroll through your news feed, it disappears, doesn't it? The whole fake news thing. I'm not going to use the T word again, but he obviously coined that phrase to a degree. But fake news originated, from my understanding anyway, was if you found a news article online, at the bottom of a news article, it would have all these different little stories that it would try and point in the direction of, which 9 times out of 10, most of them would be fake. That, for me, that was fake news. But we've gone from having that, which is just a cheap marketing tactic, people trying to get web traffic to drive ad sales. So we've gone from fake news meaning that to actually literally meaning fake news, complete fabrication, like you say, lies. And that is frightening. That really is, because you genuinely don't know what to believe anymore. Because everyone uses, not everyone, but certainly the younger generations are growing up with these devices in their hands and using these as their main sources of news. God only knows what they're learning, or what they think they're learning, what they think they're discovering, because half of it, or probably more so, is not real.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. But it's not just the young generation. I think this is teaching the business world, the wider business community, a lesson.
Yeah.
And the lesson, I guess, is that for some more unscrupulous communicators, am I going to get punished? Am I going to get caught out in any shape or form if I exaggerate information or fabricate news?
Yep.
And if the point is that you can actually get away with those types of tactics and there's no real consequences, I think that we're going to see more and more of that type of information. What's gone on with Russia on social media, it's not just in the political environment. I think it's teaching a lesson, again, to the wider world about what you can and can't do. And if there are no boundaries to marketing, no boundaries to PR, no boundaries to truth behind storytelling, it does concern me for the future and what it is that organizations are going to do and what we as consultants and professionals delivering these kinds of communication services should be advising people.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the only kind of glimmer on the horizon is the fact that it's not really sustainable, because if you're a business and if you lie about a product or a service or something that you offer, you are going to get found out at some stage, because that product or service is going to end up in the hands of a customer. And if you've lied about a certain feature or whatever it might be that isn't true, someone is going to find out about that. And the problem with that, again, going back to where we are these days with certainly with social and the power the consumer has, very quickly your brand will start to be tarnished because people are vocal with their if they're dissatisfied with their purchases, etc. So if you're a business, so I think if you're a public figure, that will continue. We'll keep getting people spouting all sorts of nonsense. But if you're a business, there's only so long you can get away with doing that, because at some stage your product is going to end up in the hands of people who are smarter than you think they are. That's how I look at it. And certainly, I'm sure you find this with the people that you work with yourself, Mark, the companies that you help, that they're not like that. You know, they want to be honest. They want to provide services that they believe in and they're honest about.
Well, they have to be, because I'm sure that you're the same as me. I won't work with organisations like that, and I have had organisations approach me saying, the phrase that they use that always upsets me is, can you put a spin on this particular service or product or issue that they're facing? And I always just say no. We can talk about ways of communicating effectively with your target audiences to your benefit and theirs. We don't put a spin on things. That's the work of publicists rather than PR professionals.
It's the wrong word, isn't it?
The more that we can encourage people to think with that type of mindset, the better place the world will be, I believe. That's all a bit dire and sour. So is there anything like entertaining that we can finish our conversation on this Friday? Because I desperately need cheering up after all this doom and gloom. What have you got for me?
I think, to be honest, I just, going back to what you said a moment ago about only working with businesses that don't lie and don't do all this stuff, I'm exactly the same. And I've had one of those weeks where, without, again, not mentioning names and going into what we've been doing, it's just been very positive in terms of the type of marketing communications we're doing. And just very quickly, actually, you just made me think of something which you mentioned about spin, and I think I totally agree with everything you said with that, but I think there is a requirement from some businesses not to spin it. That's what they would call it. But the way we would look at it would be, for example, if it's a small company but they want to appear bigger. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If you want to sell your service, if you're a marketing agency, for example, and there's just two of you in an office, but you want to appeal to a much bigger audience, there is some spin, for want of a better phrase, that you can put on that to make yourself look bigger. That's fine. And I've dealt with a few companies like that over the last couple of weeks, and that's quite nice because they've got ambitions. They want to grow, or they at least want to target a market which would normally be cut off to them. And the good thing about that is that they're using all these things that we've been talking about today, social media, the power of digital communication to look bigger than they are. And that's great. I find that quite positive. And that isn't lying. It's not spin in the way that you kind of described it.
Yeah, and you've cheered me up thoroughly, so thank you for that. Because you're right. That's so true. It's really nice to work with the collection of great clients that we have between us, because they're good people and they're doing interesting and innovative things, and all is good with the world. Yep. As long as you can focus on those types of people and stay away from the bad ones. That's our message for the week. I think happy Friday, everyone, and I'm good to sign off with that.
So am I. Very positive. Have a good weekend, Matt.
You too, buddy. Outstanding.
Cheers.